We have all of our seeds in their little baggies, ready to be germinated. These are all types that I tried last year, and I did not transplant them quick enough. And if I did, like with the corn, I didn't plant them in a good enough spot where they get enough sun. So I had these tiny stalks of corn and these teeny tiny little corn cobs. They were adorable. They kind of looked like the ones you get with your Chinese food. But anyways, we are going to try again. I was pretty successful with the sunflowers last year, but it's no surprise since those are my favorite. Okay, so all you need to do this is some seeds, a cup of water, not a whole lot, some napkins. These are just left over from McDonald's or whatever else, Ziploc bags, and a Sharpie. I like to mark the bags so I know what's in them and what their requirements are. So this is a finished product. You see the front has the name and the back has its planting. Let me turn requirements. So they need to be planted 10 inches apart, quarter inch deep into the ground. And this is the best time for my region to plant this outside. So this is the red Russian kale, which is this right here. And it can be planted outside between March and April, as long as it's, not snowing anymore in Ohio. It's been known to happen. And this is a Silver Queen hybrid sweet corn. And back here it says 9 inches apart and 2 feet between the rows, because corn needs to be planted in multiple rows, not just one big long one. And this one you plant in May. So here are all the other ones I have to do. And like I said, these are just left over from last year. I tried my hand at it and was not all that successful. I did not anticipate the level of critter activity outside or how much sun. When it says full sun, it really does mean full all day sun. So we'll get started. Okay, so I've already done these with their type and the planting instructions. So first we'll do the corn. It's a lot bigger seed, much easier to handle, much easier to see what I'm doing. So you'll take your napkin, and you'll fold it up, dunk it. Super difficult, I know. Squeeze the excess water out. And you want to make sure the whole thing's wet, because this is your watering source. When you open it up, be careful not to rip it, I promise. It's much easier to handle when it's still intact. Okay, so you fold it out like this. I like to use a plate. Trying to do it on my knee earlier was definitely not easy when it came to the little tiny seeds. I'll do kale in a minute so you can see just how tiny I'm talking. So for the purpose of this video and the fact that I don't have all my egg cartons yet, I'm only doing 9 because not all of them will germinate. And it's better to have a little more than not enough. Alright, so there's those 9. You see how they're spaced out? And this looks like a dried up corn kernel. So then the next step would be to fold this over. Oh, but don't space them out so that you can't fold it over like I just did. Alright, and then you want to fold this over, just like that. And I am even going to fold it one more time, being careful not to let the seeds roll. Okay, so then you'll have it like that, which goes nicely in your little Ziploc bag. Zip it up. That one's ready to go. So I'll do kale. This is our dinosaur kale. Ooh. It's fun because it's blue. And these seeds are super, super tiny. So we'll take our paper towel, fold it up, dunk it in the water, squeeze it out because you don't want it like dripping wet in there. Like you're trying to create a moist, hot, warm environment for the seed to germinate. Heat and water are the two most important things for germination. So where you store these is what we'll get to in a minute. For now, dip that back in there, didn't get all the way wet. All right. So we'll do kale. These are so tiny. Like, so tiny. Can you see how tiny they are? Okay, so be very careful. My wet finger, make them stick to it. And just kind of sprinkle them in there. They're going to be able to line these up in rows like the corn because they're oh so very tiny. Oh so very tiny. Alright, so I don't know if you can see them on there. You kind of can. So you just kind of want to, you know, roll them away from each other. Make sure each one kind of has its own space. And then fold it over again. Get that nice little rectangle. And slide it right down in the bag. And he's ready to go. Okay, so I ran out of paper napkins. I thought I had extra in my car, but I guess I threw them away when I cleaned it out yesterday. So I just cut a slice off one of our rag towels. Now, I don't recommend using towels just because if you don't check on your seeds enough and they do start to grow, they will grow right through the towel, which makes it really difficult because if you have to pull them out, you might damage the sprout, and then you have a hard time getting that one to go. So again, I don't recommend using towels, but it's all I have at the moment, and I really need to get these guys done. So yeah, that's what we're gonna use. So I've got my plate. Go ahead and get this one wet. So I've got Utah celery. These guys are pretty small seeds as well. Not as small as a peppermint, which I'll show you in a minute. They're the tiniest of tinies, even tinier than the kale. Oh my goodness, celeries are too, look. Can you even see them? They're so tiny. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the worst thing about the tiny ones is they definitely like to grow through the towel. So We're going to put some extra on here just in case we have an issue with that. Alright, so I've got those dumped in there. Fold that little guy up. Another thing with using a towel instead of a napkin is that you don't have to water them as much, because obviously the towel is going to hold more moisture for longer. So it's definitely a benefit, and if you're using bigger seeds, it's easier to, see the sprouts and be able to pull those out when they're ready. And there's lavender, that's carrots. And this is my broccoli, my peppermint. Is this it? Nope, that's spinach, which I thought I already did. Uh-oh, so see, I did exactly what you're not supposed to do. I put the wrong seeds in the wrong bag. So I've got my celery that I put spinach in, so that wouldn't have been very good. Always double check. So we'll put that in there. Each seed needs a different kind of care, so you need to make sure they're labeled right so you don't mess something up. Okay, so got those fixed. I'm gonna put those back under the warm blanket and go to the next one, which is the peppermint. So you bring it out really good because you don't want seed rot. You don't want the seeds to be overwhelmed with water. Okay, now these guys, oh my god, they're literally like specks of pepper. Can you see that? Literal specks of pepper. I don't know if they're gonna come off my hand. Okay, and just like we did with the celery, we'll do some extra ones. Just in case, because peppermint is really good to have in the yard. It keeps certain bugs away, and it smells delicious. Not to mention, fresh mint tea is just irreplaceable with anything from the store. So fold that up. All right. Well, my peppermint one's gone too, so I've really just screwed it all up, haven't I? Peppers, peppermint, here we go. As organized as you try to be, still manage to mess up. Alright, so I've done these. We'll set those to the side. Now we're going to do some green peppers. I plan on giving these as gifts, some of these. It's my mom and my mother-in-law, my nanny. Alright, so most people know what a pepper seed looks like. If you eat green peppers, that is. They just look like the little guys inside the peppers, but all dehydrated. So, pop those down in there. And with the littler seeds, it would have been nearly impossible to move them around, so I just kind of sprinkled them about, but since these guys are just a little bigger, spread them away from each other the best we can. They keep sticking to my wet fingers though. Okay, and then we'll fold him, and we'll fold him. Those should grow red and green bell peppers. So we will see about that. We lost one. Alright. Fold these guys over. Broccoli. My daughter is about the only person in this house that eats broccoli. I'm a texture person. I have a hard time with it. But she loves it. So these are small guys too, but not as small as the peppermint or the celery. So we'll do like we did with the kale. Sprinkle them around. Okay, so I have these two little pink buckets. I am just going to sit these in here like this. Now you don't want them to get too hot, so I will have to turn this down, but the heat comes out of the end here. So we're just gonna stick these right under here. That way they're not on the floor and they are getting sufficient heat. I should probably turn this down. Woo! Alright, so we'll leave it at about mid-temperature, and I will be back to check these in 24 hours. The first time you check them, it's really not necessary to check them before then. If I wasn't using this amount of heat, I would even go as far as to wait 48 hours. But with them being this warm, I will need to check back in 24 hours to make sure they all have enough moisture left. See you then.